Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Escreal Let's Play Minecraft. We're starting off this episode from our fully completed base. Yay! In case you missed it, our last 3 episodes were entirely focused on turning this patch of farmland into the base that you see before you. If you haven't already done it, I highly recommend that you check out the previous videos. I am very happy with the way they came out, and I love the way that this base came out. However, today, all of our attention is going to be spent underground because today, finally, as our priority, as the thing that we are absolutely definitely going to do today, it is not going to be pushed off by any other request for anything else that we have to do. We are building redstone. That's right. Today, we finally get to do the redstone that I've been wanting to do for the last 6 episodes. So, what I'll do to kick us off is just kind of show you a few of the little things that I've done in prep for this episode so that we can focus on redstone, and then we'll get right to it. If we have any time after that, there are a few other things that we can do in this episode, but if those get pushed to future episodes, I don't mind, because today is all about redstone. So let's get started. So our first redstone is going to be a replacement to all of the farmland that we dug up for our town base. These farms, these micro-farms, my intention is to put here and here to get us started. And these will provide us with 2 of the things that I particularly want to have access to early on in the game, pumpkins and more sugarcane. Now, I have pretty much ended up growing all of the sugarcane that I need for my enchanting table in order to get max level 30th level enchantments. However, there are still other things that I use sugar for and sugarcane for paper, for maps, for other books. So having this farm early on certainly is still going to be valuable, even if it's not necessarily going to contribute to the bookshelves, which was its initial driving priority. But that's our plan. So we'll have a pumpkin farm, a sugarcane farm. If we find that they don't produce enough, we can always expand them or add more of them. These micro farms are intended to be very space conscious. So it is basically the bare minimum that you can have as far as space being used and still have a farm. So that is something that we'll be getting to shortly. A challenge that we're going to have with that is building within the confines of unbreakable boundaries. With the towny constraints of plots, if we dig too far into the walls, what we end up happening is unbreakable blocks. So in our base, what I've tried to do is leave 1 block width of something that I can still destroy. So for instance, however, if I try to go any further, we get the owner doesn't allow allies to destroy here. So we end up having at most 1 extra block that we can play with. And I may need that in order to do things such as get behind the farms as I'm constructing them. I actually haven't experimented with building them in such a confined space, but I think it'll be okay. And in the end, I just need to have 4 blocks deep, 5 blocks deep. So they're going to go all the way up to these bookshelves. This might be a tight fit. But these bookshelves, this enchanting area is not intended to be a permanent location here. So we're working with the space that we have. It is part of the fun, for me at least, the challenge of working with the space limitations of Towny. Now, one of the other things that takes up a ton of space is all of our animals. And you may have noticed that we have a gigantic hole right here. So as prep for this episode, or if we don't get to it next episode, one of the things that I did is I constructed a gigantic hole that goes all the way down into the lowest possible level of the base, where I'm going to put the things that make a lot of noise and are annoying, like our animals, but also like a portal to the nether. With these farms, one of the key ingredients that I needed that I didn't have was quartz. So I had to get to the nether, and I had to do some exploration of the nether, and I wanted to have a way of doing that from within my base. And so what I did was create another portal right at the lowest levels of our base. And from here, we can pop into the nether, mine for any resources that we need, including our quartz, as well as provide the basis for a nether highway. Now, there was a portal from within the town itself, from within Alpha Town, where I'm based. Come say hello if you are on the server. However, this portal, what would happen with it is when you went through the portal, you would arrive in the nether, but when you tried to return from that portal, where you were taken was this place pretty much in the middle of the desert, about 200, 300 blocks away from the town. So, while it wasn't terribly painful to get back to Alpha Town from here, it wasn't inconvenient, especially if all I wanted to do was pop into the nether really quickly in order to get some quartz. So, what I did is link up my new basement portal to this new nether portal. Oops, went the wrong way. I even added signs so that I wouldn't get lost. Let's actually follow the signs, shall we? Alpha Town. So I created this new portal from my base to get to the nether, nice and easily from where I might be doing things. But this portal is actually linked to the Alpha Town portal. So now, for anyone from within Alpha Town who wants to go back and forth through portals, they can go into our portal in the nether. They will pop out into the Alpha Town portal, and then this one just goes now directly to our new portal that we constructed. I hope I didn't step on anyone's toes with this change, but having portals that actually link back to town was something that I at least really wanted to have, so I did it. And hopefully people are okay with that. If not, we can always link portals to different things. I can kill my portal in my basement if I need to, but I think that that's a town improvement, at least. So we have quartz, and we actually have almost 2 full stacks of quartz, which is more than enough for our builds for today, and allows us to do our one of the key components that drives this build, which is a redstone comparator. So what I'm going to do now is assemble all of the materials that I need for at least for the first farm, and we'll get started building. Alright, so I've assembled all of the items that I need in order to construct my first micro-farm, which is going to be the pumpkin farm. Now, all of the items almost entirely fill up my inventory, but there are a few things that I thought I would show on camera how to construct them in case you've never built these yourself. So I try not to take too much for granted as far as assembling things. Even so far as I'm not sure if previously I'd shown you how to make jack-o'-lanterns. I know I've shown you how to make glass panes, so that's the one thing that I am definitely skipping. But yeah, so we're going to occasionally, I think, pause in the middle of building to show the construction of certain elements that we need. But yeah, it should be pretty good. So what I'm going to attempt to do is create my pumpkin micro-farm, and let's begin. The first thing that I need to do is mark out where I want it to be. I need to have 4 blocks wide by 5 blocks deep. And whether or not I want it to be directly against the wall or not, I think it might depend if I can break this brick. I cannot. So I definitely don't want it to be against this wall in case I need to go behind it. So we'll start right here and go 4 blocks over from here for our pumpkin farm. Now the first thing that I want to do to identify where I'm going to be sort of building towards is set the chest that will gather all the resources as they are farmed. To do that, I'm going to need to create 2 chests. Now the chests, in case you are new to Minecraft, are just simply wooden planks done in a circle with the middle missing. We need 2 of these for the construction of our farm. Now that we have the chests, we will place them down where we want them to be, which was 2 blocks over from the outside, 1, 2. The first chest will go here. The second chest will go here. For some reason, this turned around to face the opposite way. Maybe it's because these bookshelves are here and are just having some weird effect. So when I move these bookshelves, I can come back and revisit how this chest is opening just for aesthetics. Not that big of a deal for us for right now, because it will still work. And it's not worth delaying. Now the next thing that I want to do is actually just build out the outside frame of where this farm is going to go. To do that, I want to start with grabbing some birchwood planks as well as some stone slabs. What we're going to do then is go 1 block back from our chests, put stone slabs on either side. Then we're going to skip a block, put a birchwood plank, skip a block, and then just fill in the rest with birchwood. And this is the size of our farm. So everything, all the automation is done inside, the output goes into these chests. Now the next thing I do want to do is how we actually get it into the chest. And we do that with hoppers. Hoppers are constructed by taking a chest in the middle and then putting iron ore that you've smelted, iron ingots around in this sort of V pattern, which gives you the hoppers. And we need 2 of them to feed our chest. So just swap those out. Holding shift, I can click and feed them in. And now if I were to, for instance, put items in the hopper, they flow from there into the chest. So that's where we will be going with our pumpkins when they get broken and get launched. They will be launched on top of a hoppers. Next thing that I want to do is start putting in the internal lighting. So we're underground, obviously. So in order for these plants to grow, they need light. They need a certain level of light. And to accomplish this, what we're going to use is jack-o'-lanterns to grow our pumpkins to make more jack-o'-lanterns, which I think is kind of wonderful. To make a jack-o'-lantern, super simple. You just take some pumpkins, put torches underneath them, like you would put a torch in a jack-o'-lantern, and voila, all set. Whoa. That zoomed in and sort of freaked me out a little bit there. So with our jack-o'-lanterns, what we're going to do is have them in a pattern in the back row, but there's a certain feature of jack-o'-lanterns that make them slightly more complicated to work with, and that is that they can't be placed on open air. They can't be placed actually on a lot of items. They need to be placed on a solid surface. They need to sit on something. You can destroy that something afterwards and they will float, but it's not like, for instance, planks where you can just sort of extend them out from the wall with nothing underneath them. So what we'll do is just put down a few temporary blocks in order to build up our jack-o'-lantern pattern. So we are going to have a jack-o'-lantern right here, and we're going to have one right here. And I've just sort of had them facing into the corner, so that way when you look at it, you can't see the face, because I really don't like seeing the face. We can then leave that block for a second. We can then kill these blocks, and you can see it floats. One other thing that I want to do while I have this temporary block is put down one of the pistons that we're going to need. So the idea is that we will have our dirt right here, and this is where the pumpkin plant will grow. The stem will be here, new pumpkins will land right here. We'll have a piston behind it that pushes it forward when it grows and knocks it into the hopper for us to catch. So I want to have a piston right here, and to make a piston, what we need to do is take a series of planks, which I am currently using as my temporary blocks, so maybe I will pull them up for the purposes of moving forward. get some server lag there. That's all right. And so to make pistons, you need 3 wooden planks on the top. You need to have cobblestone on the sides. Oops. That was not what I meant to do. Unfortunately, when you double click, everything condenses. I had broken everything out into nice, neat little sections for our demonstration of putting things together, but that's all right. I will just break them out further. We then need a piece of iron and 1 piece of redstone, and that will give us a piston. Now we're going to end up needing another one later, so I'll just make them both now and pull all of this stuff out. But that gives us our piston. We will use dirt to place our piston, and we want it to face outward like that. Next, we are going to place one of our dirt blocks just to seal us in, because now we're going to put down the water. So pumpkins don't actually need water in order to grow, but it does improve their growth rate. So we're going to hide some water right next to this dirt right there. And because I just like it to be both source blocks, because it, in my mind, looks a little bit better even though you will never see it, I put another bucket of water right there, and then we'll just finish closing it in. And now we have dirt that will end up being hydrated. And you're starting to see how the farm is going to come together. All right, so that means that we can start building up a little bit more. I want to be cautious about doing too much on the backside until, or cautious about filling in too much of the rest of it until I've done the backside. So I'm going to do that next. One of the things that I like to have in my redstone designs is some way of toggling them on and off. Basically, I want a way that I can say I no longer need this to be running, so it no longer needs to be using up server resources, and I can be just a friendly community player. So what we're going to do for us is we'll start by putting a lever on the outside that can control when this is on and when it is off. Levers are really easy. You just take a stick and put cobblestone underneath it, and you can sort of see how that could be conceived as a stick, I guess, or as a lever. And we're just going to place it right there. Now that stick going into cobblestone, see how it sort of makes the shape, that's going to power when this is on and when it is off. This is going to feed into a redstone repeater, so I can get the output out of it. So here's how that's going to work. We just take stone. We put 3 pieces of stone on the bottom row, followed by redstone torches, which we need to bake first. All right, so that's the other thing I wanted to show is we need to make some redstone torches. We, in fact, need to make, I believe, 9 total. That would make sense because I have 9 sticks left. All right, so we're going to make 9 redstone torches. Just like regular torches, which is coal and sticks, redstone torches are redstone and stick. Once we have a redstone torch to make a repeater, again, we put the stone down, 2 redstone torches, and a piece of redstone in the middle, and gives us our redstone repeater. We are going to need 2 of those, so we'll just go ahead and do that right now. And so our redstone torch will feed out of this block. So now when we toggle it on, power goes through the block and into this block. What we're going to have then is a redstone torch connected to the back of this block. When power is coming in, the redstone torch is off. When power is not, the redstone torch is on. So this is just sort of an inverter of the current that we're going to be using. Next, we will go back to our birchwood planks, because that's what I intend to use for the back row. We can get rid of this torch, because we're going to be building up. So we're going to put a birchwood plank on top of this redstone torch, and then we're going to put another redstone torch right into the side here. And what you'll see now is when we have this flipped down, the piston is extended. When we turn it off, the piston retracts. So the way that we will control when this is on or off is flipping the switch prevents any available space for pumpkins to grow, so it effectively turns off the whole machine. Flip it down, pumpkins can grow, and then when we have the automated detection of the growth, it will fire and reset and continue to run. So that is all of our clever switch for when we want this thing to be running on or off. I'm just going to fill in the rest of the back now. So we're going to put a piece of birch wood there, a block right there. We will then put blocks right here and here. And wrap it around like that. I believe that is it for our birchwood. Next, what I want to do is, I think I'll put in the piece that actually automatically identifies when this is running. So to do that, we need to have a piston facing upwards above this repeater. This is, again, where the pumpkins will grow. On top of this piston, we're going to put a block of sand. Next to this piston in the front, we're going to just stack up 2 more stone slabs. And then we're going to put a furnace right here. Furnaces, much like the chest that we made earlier, are just a circle of an item, in this case cobblestone, and that gives us our furnace. Oops. My parkour skills are lacking right now. So again, I'm going to position this furnace facing against an item, just so that way I don't have to see the exposed. Or at least that was my plan, was to have it facing inward so you don't see it. There's no reason why it should be giving me this problem. Let's try this one more time. In fact, just to be safe, in case it's the sand preventing it from happening, we'll do it that way, and then we will cover up with sand. So now we have a piece of sand next to our furnace on top of a piston. We're going to fill this this furnace with 42 stackable items. I'm just going to use cobblestone because it's an easy resource I have tons of. But now that we have items in there, what we can do is take a comparator output of analyzing this item to see if there's things in it, and if so, it will give us a signal strength. So to do that, we need to make a comparator. And this is the thing that I needed to go into the nether for in order to actually build these farms. So a comparator works very similar to the redstone repeater. We have 3 pieces of stone, but this time we have a quartz item on top of it. We then take 3 redstone torches, and that gives us our comparator. And you can see here we have sort of 3 torches in the image. We have 3 here, and the redstone repeater we had 2 torches. So you can kind of see the designs coming together. Our redstone or redstone comparator, we're going to have facing out of the out of the sand into this birchwood plank. You can see that it's currently powered. If we were to remove those items, it goes off. If we add them back in, it goes on. And so that's going to be one of the key tricks here, is that while the comparator can get a signal out of the furnace, it will be sending a signal forward. If we were to remove the sand, the signal's gone. And that's actually what the magic is the sand's existence directly next to the furnace is what drives it. All right, so next up, we are going to close in the rest of this backside so we can finish powering our redstone. I think I'm either one birchwood block short, or I need another birchwood block, because I think I might have miscalculated a little bit here, because I need one right there. I apologize to everyone. I tried to have everything all nice and slick and followed my own recipe for these builds, which means that the list of materials that I might have on my YouTube tutorial for building this may be wrong, and if that's the case, I apologize. In fact, if you found that it's wrong, let me know in the comments and I will update it. All right, so with this wrapped around, what I'm going to do before you guys didn't stop me from doing that. Let's try that again. With that there, we can now finish closing this in. Before we get too much further though, I think I am going to plant our pumpkins. So to do this, we just need a hoe. We're going to harvest this area. You can see that it's currently just regular dirt. That should get dark later on. We're going to put our pumpkin seeds right there. This is the stem that will grow. And if we want to expedite the process, we can use bone meal, which you just get from bones from killing skeletons. And it makes bone meal. Clicking on it speeds up the process. I think that's a fully grown. I can do one more round just in case. All right, so that's fully grown. And now we're just waiting for pumpkins to form. All right, cool. Cool. Let's close in the rest of this. So we're going to start by putting a oak wood plank right here, because I thought that it looked sort of nice with the design. We're also going to fill in this spot right here with oak wood, so we get this sort of oak pattern from our piston. We will use stone slabs to build up this wall and connect with a little shift click. So we now have this kind of tunnel view into it. Next up, we're going to grab some glass. Actually, we'll hold off on the glass for a second, just so I can show you it in action. So we'll do the rest of our redstone. So as we sort of showed earlier, we have the comparator coming out here. The comparator is going to feed into this block, which powers this redstone. We're going to have this redstone line come around this corner. It's then going to go up and over, and I'm one redstone block short because I need it. Actually, I'm two. How did that happen? Sorry, everyone, my math was way off. So we're going to have two more pieces of redstone going across this way, covering up our furnace, which is going to be the thing that actually starts all of the automation. So while I go and get a couple more pieces of redstone, I will tell you a little bit about how that's actually going to work. And for the next one, I will just grab huge quantities of extra resources so I don't have to do this. But basically, this works because we're going to be actively powering a block just slightly off to the side of our piston. So the piston becomes bud powered, which means that it will then actually do things when changes to blocks around it happen, but will sit still for now until something happens. So we can show this in action if we were to bring down something that actually can break. We'll bring some pumpkins. They'll be our seed pumpkins, our demo pumpkins. So if we were to put a pumpkin in this dirt, which is what will happen as it grows, that pumpkin ends up triggering the bud piston because there is a block update next to it, bud block update detector, which changes the state of this output from the sand for our comparator because the sand's no longer there, so this becomes turned off. The redstone line that comes out of the comparator gives our pumpkin pushing piston its ability to automatically launch our pumpkins when they grow because it gives it a bud activated ability. If that line didn't get disrupted though and stayed on the whole time, the piston would just remain extended. So that's why we need the sand to pop up, disrupt the line, momentarily turn off the active state of the redstone so the piston can return to its initial state. Once we've reactivated the redstone, it's now activated once again to keep this cycle going indefinitely. Seeing this in action from the front, we put a block down. It gets launched. And as those items get launched, if they get picked up by the hopper, they go directly into the chest. Now, one of the risks of this design is that if we don't have anything kind of directing the items into the hoppers, the pumpkins could get knocked out of the farm itself. So they could be knocked in these directions. They could be even knocked upward and out through these holes. So we need to enclose all of the open space. To do that, we're going to put a couple of glass blocks on the top. If the block directly above the pumpkin is not a transparent block, so glass or just open space, it actually won't grow. So at least this block needs to be glass. And then this one, so you can sort of see it in action. And from the front side of things, we're going to use glass panes to sort of wrap it all in. Let's see, I think we're all done with the exception of the glass panes. So we will... Nope, there is definitely something that I forgot to do. All right, so there was one block difference that I wanted to make here, and that's right here. So just to balance it out, so on this side we have... Sorry, the bookshelves do make it difficult to sort of show this, but we have sand right there. On this side, what I would like to do is just have a similar color, but not sand, because sand is sort of difficult to work with. If I ever need to get in there and I break the block underneath it, I need to have, I don't want the block to fall, I don't want the sand to fall and to break the redstone. So we're going to take our sand and turn it into a sandstone block. We're actually going to do that 3 more times because I think I want smooth sandstone. Alright, so I have some smooth sandstone actually made, but just for the sake of this one round, if I don't have... Alright, so I don't have enough. So I will use what I currently have in the system. But basically, in order to make smooth sandstone, you take 4 sandstone blocks, and they will produce a smooth sandstone. And we just need the 1. So we will go back down. I'm kind of loving the role-playing side of this server, where you get experience points for doing things like falling as acrobats. So we're going to just replace that with smooth sandstone, get our piece of redstone, and put it back up there to repower this line. Everything looks good. We will then use our glass panes. We're going to start all the way at the bottom. I think all the way at the bottom. And just sort of wrap. Is that everything? I think that's everything. Because these are still transparent blocks, the chest can open up through them. We can turn our system on or off. And the last detail is to just add a sign to remind me which direction is on and which direction is off. So now if we were to turn it off, we can see that it's extended. Turn it on, it's closed, and my micro-farm is now complete. This is fully functioning. This can now run. We will remove any pumpkins that we had during our sort of demo time, just to make sure we have a full reset. And we'll see how this produces. I mean, I'm really hopeful that this runs well. I mean, we have an active server, people are playing frequently, so in theory, this will be growing and producing kind of nonstop. And if that's happening, that's probably going to produce enough pumpkins for the builds that I need at the rate that I am currently building and recording and playing. So we'll see how that goes. And with the pumpkin farm complete, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I ended up spending a little bit more time on it than I had originally expected, just in part because I ended up walking through the construction in a lot more detail, including all of the components, how to construct them. But I am trying to be sensitive to people who are just new to Minecraft and playing it. I mean, for those who stay on my channel for a while, I won't continue this level of detail. I will sort of assume that people will have watched earlier episodes by the time they get to later ones. Maybe occasionally I'll come back and revisit some of these basic recipes, but I'm really happy with both the time that we took to go through the construction as well as the results. Now, the fact that the farm itself ended up being one extra block in, and we now only have, well, we now only have 3 available blocks next to it, means that I really do need to drop all of our farmyard animals prior to building the sugarcane farm. So we'll do that as part of our next episode. But for the sake of this episode, I think we will call it here, and we will wait and see and watch how our pumpkins grow. I really hope they do well. I'm excited for this. This was the first redstone contraption that I designed specifically with Towny in mind, so I'm really excited to see how it works and how it goes. I hope it goes well. I suspect it will. At a minimum, it should at least work. I could always stack these vertically or horizontally, or modify the design a little bit more if I need just a slightly greater input or output of pumpkins, but for now I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust that this micro farm in Towny is perfect for what I need for right now. Next time we'll drop all of these animals down to the basement level so we can free up some space, and we'll build our sugar farm. But for now, that's going to do it for us. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button down below, and if you are curious about what happens next, please click subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye!